How's it going, everyone? It's Javi from Weather Sponge 1000, and in this video, we're going to forecast when you should expect your first freeze throughout the entirety of the lower 48. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. So to make this forecast, I took a look at several different factors that would determine what type of temperatures we would experience during the early fall months and approaching the winter months, because that really gives a good idea of when we should expect our first freeze. And of course, in my recent fall forecast, I did forecast that the northern United States would experience temperatures cooler than average, most likely this fall, as a result of a La Nina that's expected to build. That would bring more jet stream dips. That would bring that Arctic air further southward. So as a result, I do expect your first freeze throughout the northern Midwest, as well as the northern portion of the Rocky Mountain region, to be a little bit earlier than what you'd typically expect, where in the northern Rocky Mountain region, you should expect your first freeze as early as September. And this area where you're expected to experience your first freeze is a little bit larger than what it typically is on an average year, as I did extend this early September area closer to the northern Midwest states, where in the northern Midwest states you typically don't experience your first freeze till late September. But I did include North Dakota and the extreme northern portions of Minnesota, because I do expect those pronounced jet stream dips to build a little bit more this fall, which should allow for temperatures to cool down to the point where our first freeze should be a little bit earlier than what you typically expect. So early September for a lot of the higher elevations of the Rocky Mountain ranges, as well as the extreme northern portion of the Midwest. And if I were to show you guys for the late September area, I am expecting that you guys should experience your first freeze for a large portion of the northern Midwest by late September. This includes major cities such as Minneapolis, this includes Denver, this includes Salt Lake City, and this includes a large portion of Nevada, as well as the Sierra Mountain ranges of California. And this could and you could experience your first freeze as early as late September, right around Detroit and the extreme northern portions of the Northeast as well. So that's something to be aware of. And like I said, since I'm expecting the temperatures to be cooler than average this fall for the northern Midwest, this area where you should experience your first freeze by late September is a little bit further southward, because I do expect those cooler temperatures to move just south enough to where your first freeze will be a little bit earlier in the areas further southward. Now, moving forward to the October timeframe, and we do see that, of course, the area when you should experience your first freeze is a lot bigger as we head into the month of October, of course, because conditions begin to cool down as we head further and further into the fall. And you see that as early as October, you should experience your first freeze right around the Chicago area, and this includes a larger portion of the Northeast as well. And this includes Kansas, Iowa, a large portion of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, extending to the higher elevations of the Appalachian Mountain range right around West Virginia, and the higher elevations of North Carolina. And we do see that pretty much right along the Interstate 81 corridor. That's pretty much a border between when you should experience your first freeze, between late October and early October, pretty much moving through almost in the exact vicinity as the Interstate 81 corridor, which sort of moves southward like this. So pretty much anywhere that's around the Appalachian, that's in the higher elevations of the Appalachian Mountains, should experience their first freeze as early October. And we do see this extends further westward as well to the northern portion of New Mexico. However, this area is a little bit further northward than what you'd typically expect, because I am expecting a much warmer fall for a lot of the southwestern portion of the United States. So as a result, your first freeze should be a little bit later for New Mexico and for places such as New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California as well, and even Texas, where this late October area would be a little bit further southward if I wasn't expecting this fall to be a lot warmer than average, which is currently expected at this time because of how severe the drought is right around the southwestern portion of the United States, which should allow the surface to heat up a lot faster without moisture pretty much staying around us, being absorbed by the short wave radiation. So as a result, I do expect conditions to be a lot warmer this fall for the southwestern portion of the United States, which should make your first freeze a little bit later than what you typically expect. Now, moving forward into November, where, of course, at this point, most of the United States experience their first freeze. So in the places where you should expect your first freeze in early October, this includes places like right around Charlotte, North Carolina. This includes Atlanta as well as the northern portion of Alabama, extending to Memphis as well. That's when you should experience your first freeze right around early October. Oklahoma City, and extending to Albuquerque, New Mexico, you should expect your first freeze right around late October. Same goes for a lot of the major cities in the United States, such as Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. All should experience their first freeze at least by late October, most likely. Las Vegas, you should experience their first freeze, I'd say right around early to late November. You're right around the border between that, and for the higher elevations of California, let's say just outside of Los Angeles, right around the Angeles National Forest and the mountains surrounding Los Angeles, I think you should expect your first freeze right around early November, which is a little bit later than what you typically expect. But as a result of this drought, your first freeze should be a little bit later thanks to warmer temperatures overall for the south. That's expected overall for the southwestern portion of the United States. However, in the areas where you should expect your first freeze by late November, this includes places like Dallas, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona could potentially get involved. We also have New Orleans. That's pretty much right on the border of late November to potentially not receiving freezing temperature at all this winter. So that's something to keep in mind. And a lot of the Gulf Coast should experience their first freezing temperature right around late November, which again, this area where you see late November is a little bit further northward than what you typically expect during a first freeze, because the sea surface temperatures surrounding the Gulf of Mexico are a lot warmer than average. So as a result, the Gulf Coast should experience warmer temperatures, which should prevent your first freeze from happening a little bit too early. And of course, the drought going on around the southwestern portion of the United States will contribute to your first freeze being a little bit later this fall. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And also, a La Nina is expected to build, which should bring drier and warmer than average conditions for much of the southern United States. So as a result, your first freeze should be a little bit later for a lot of the southern United States, and I'd say for majority of the United States in general, outside of the northern Midwest and the higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains, in the northern area of the Rocky Mountain ranges. So that's something to keep in mind. This is when you should expect your first freeze. Taking a look at my fall 2022 temperature anomaly forecast, which I did make 2 days ago, I believe, and you see that for most of the United States, I'm expecting above average temperatures. So for the most part, your first freeze should be a lot later than expected for most Americans, thanks to the fact that I'm expecting this fall to be warmer than average for most of the lower 48, including the more populated sectors like the Northeast, where I do believe this small drought going on, as well as the warmer than average sea surface temperatures, should allow for a warmer fall, which should prevent your first freeze from happening too early. So that's something to keep in mind. But Yeah, guys. If you want to know more, if you want even more specific forecasts regarding when you should expect your first freeze in your specific location, just make sure to comment down below your specific location or area, and I'll make sure to give you guys a more in detail forecast of when you should expect your first freeze headed into this fall. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content, and I hope you guys all have a great day.